What is going on, everyone? I am back and we have officially made it. We are less than 24 hours away from the kickoff of this year's football season and the opening match this Thursday night between the Chiefs and the Patriots. Now, I know a lot of you at this point have already set your rosters, have already drafted your teams. So, with that being said, what I wanted to do is actually go through my week one picks and check it out. I think it'll be pretty useful as well for all of you in those survivor and eliminator pick leagues. I'll mention that at the end of the video as well. But in the meantime, let's kick it off. So, with our first game, we obviously have the Chiefs and the Patriots in New England. And man, as long as the Patriots have Brady and Belichick, it is really hard to pick against them. And just like a lot of other people, I feel very comfortable taking the Patriots tonight. Now, I know the Chiefs are a very good football team. They've got a great defense. They've got a quarterback that does not make mistakes. And they've added some weapons in terms of Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Hunt. All those guys are up and coming. And Kelsey coming off a stellar year. Hill coming off a great rookie campaign. So I expect their offense to be better. But I think when it's all said and done, Patriots have way too much experience. They have too many guys that they can beat you with, whether it's Cooks, Gronk, Hogan, that running game, that defense. Don't sleep on that defense. Now they are 8.5 point favorites in terms of the spread. I think this is right around the mark that you're looking for because I have them winning between 7 and 10 points. Personally, I'll take the over. I think they can cover the spread and they win by right around 10 points. Next, we've got the Falcons versus the Bears in Chicago. And obviously the Bears going with Glennon as their starter. Trubisky's looked really good really soon, but still, I guarantee you they will not go to him in this game unless it gets that bad, that fast. And if that is the case, that just shows that the Falcons are that good. Now, I know a lot of people might be thinking, well, Super Bowl hangover for the Falcons. Week one, everyone is ripe for the picking. Nobody knows what any of these teams really are. But look, the Bears, albeit they've made some upgrades defensively, so I expect them to be above average even on defense. But on offense, they don't have anyone other than Jordan Howard, and that is not enough to keep up with this Falcons offense. I like the Falcons with Ryan, with Julio, with Devonta Freeman to win this game. Maybe they'll struggle for the first 2 quarters, just feeling it out, but I guarantee you when it's all said and done, it'll be about a 10-point victory for the Falcons. Now, the Bears are at plus 7.5 for the spread. I think that this game is going to get decided at the end of the fourth quarter. I think there will be some garbage time points, and I think the Falcons will beat that. Feel comfortable taking the Falcons outright and against the spread. Moving on, we have got the Jets going up against the Bills in Buffalo. And look, I'm going to be saying this about the Jets week in and week out. The Jets are going to be one of the worst teams in all of football this year. They're tanking to get their quarterback next year, and they have gotten rid of anyone that was semi-serviceable. They got rid of Marshall, they got rid of Decker, got rid of Richardson, and they've also had some injuries offensively. Now, on top of that, they have got Josh McCown as their quarterback. They're also going up against the Bills defense that is pretty tough and makes matchups really grind out. But with that being said, this is still a divisional game. These teams know each other very well. And surprisingly, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. Now, the Bills are at minus 6.5 for the spread. I actually think that this is going to be right around that mark because I think the Bills are going to win by just a touchdown. So I begrudgingly take the Bills in terms of covering the spread. Making our way to another divisional matchup, we have the Ravens versus the Bengals in Cincinnati. And look, with the Ravens, I really like the Ravens. They've got a very good defense, but that offense has so many issues. Flacco didn't really do much in the offseason. dealing with his injury. He will play, but they have lost so many guys offensively, guys along the offensive line, tight end position. Uh, it is looking very bad for the Ravens on offense, and that is not a team that I expect to put up a lot of points. On the flip side, the Bengals, they've got AJ Green healthy, they've got Tyler Eifert healthy, they got Joe Mixon added in the backfield. I think that'll be exciting. I think they'll be able to put up more points than the Ravens, even though, again, with this divisional matchup, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a grind out kind of team. But when these teams face off in the AFC, usually the home team wins, and I do like the Bengals. Their spread is only at -2.5, and to me, this game at minimum is going to get decided by a field goal. So I feel pretty comfortable taking the Bengals at home. I think they win, and I think they cover. Continuing with our run of divisional matchups, we have the Steelers going up against the Browns in Cleveland. And look, I know the outlook for the Browns is trending upwards, and they did a lot of things during the offseason. They helped improve the offensive line. They have Isaiah Crowell. They've got Deshaun Kaiser in there. They have Myles Garrett, but hold on, slow the roll, because first and foremost, Garrett has a high ankle sprain, probably will not play. On top of that, Kaiser's a rookie. I don't care what you saw in the preseason. This is his first real NFL action, and it's going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a pretty good defense. Don't sleep on them, and that's not going to help the situation. On top of that, oh yeah, their best player for the Browns defensively, Joe Hayden, going from the Browns to who? Oh yeah, that's right, the Steelers that they're going up against week 1. Everything that you feel and that you think is going to happen will happen. The Steelers are going to win this game. They've got too much offensive power with Big Ben, with Brown, and with Bell. Now, the interesting part of this is the spread, because the Browns are at +9.5. And honestly, it's a divisional game, so I do think it'll be kind of a tough matchup. But at the end, the Steelers have way too much. I expect this to be a double-digit victory. Next, we have the Cardinals going up against the Lions in Detroit. And look, last year the Cardinals were definitely one of the most disappointing teams in all of football. And on the flip side, we have the Lions, who surprised a lot of people, made the playoffs. They were the comeback kids, and people are thinking that's going to carry over. But to me, I actually still like the Cardinals in this matchup. They have got David Johnson, they've got Fitz, and albeit an aging Palmer, I think he puts behind whatever happened to him last year in the rearview mirror, and I think he has enough to beat the Lions on the road. In addition, this is a tough matchup for the Lions because they're a passing team. Don't have any doubts about that. And they're going up against Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, who's going to be back in that secondary. That's going to be a tough go. I like the Cardinals when it's all said and done. It's going to be a close game, but Cardinals are going to come out on top by at least a field goal, if not more. Now, the Lions are at -2.5 favorites on the spread, but like I said, I like the Cardinals, and I feel pretty comfortable with that pick. Next, we have the Raiders versus the Titans, and this is actually a really interesting matchup because both of these teams, AFC, are on the rise. Last year, if Carr doesn't get hurt right before the playoffs, man, the Raiders can make a serious push. And unfortunately, that's just how things broke. But on the flip side, man, the Titans are an up-and-coming team. Mariota looking just as good as people expected. They've added offensive weapons to the Titans through the draft, through free agency, a young and hungry team. But to me, I just think the Raiders have too many guys with Lynch in there, with that offensive line. They've got Cooper, they've got Crabtree, they've got Carr, who I think is a little bit of a better quarterback than Mariota. That offensive line is a little bit better. And I do think it'll be a very close game. That Raiders defense, maybe not the best, but they have playmakers. I think it'll be close, but I like the Raiders to win this game on the road. The Titans are at plus half a point at home. But like I said, if anything, the Raiders should win this game by at least a field goal, maybe on a Sebastian Janikowski game-winning field goal at that. Because, like I said, I think this game goes down to the fourth quarter, to the end of the fourth quarter. It is one of the most interesting matchups for this week. Continuing on with another divisional matchup, we have the Eagles going up against the Redskins in Washington. And look, I like the Eagles in this game. The Redskins are actually 2.5 point favorites at home, but to me, the Eagles win, and for several reasons. First and foremost, I love what the Eagles did this offseason, adding Jeffrey, adding Blunt, adding Torrey Smith, surrounding Wentz with a plethora of weapons. And I actually think getting rid of Jordan Matthews helped them out in the offseason because that makes Jeffrey the clear-cut number one guy, and Wentz will benefit from that. On the flip side, with the Redskins, I think that whole situation is a mess. They lost Garcon, they lost Jackson, and Reed isn't the most reliable guy. Cousins isn't happy with that situation, so I think it'll be probably an 8-8 season for the Redskins. Now, I know these games are a toss-up, especially in the NFC East, especially the divisional ones, and I do anticipate it being close, but when it's all said and done, I like the Eagles. They probably pull away in the fourth quarter. Moving on, we have the Jaguars going up against the Texans in Houston, and I think this is going to be a very emotional game for the Texans, for the city of Houston. Obviously, with Hurricane Harvey not that far removed, and my best well wishes and support goes out to everyone in that area and everyone involved. And with that being said, I think that this game, the city bands together through football. They're going to show their support. They're going to come out, and the Texans are going to feed off from that. On top of that, they're just a better team. They're stacked defensively. They're going to be in contention for the best defense throughout the year. The question with the Texans is always the quarterback, Savage, Watson, what's going to happen, who will play better. But they're going up against a team in the Jaguars where that doesn't matter too much. With the Jaguars, that quarterback situation, it was Henny, it was Bortles, it was going to be, we're going to release Bortles in the offseason. That's a mess. The offensive line is a mess, and the Texans will take advantage of that. Texans are 4.5 point favorites at home. I like them to cover that spread. Feel comfortable going with the Texans. Moving on, we have the Colts going up against the Rams in LA. And look, this has the potential to be one of the most boring games this entire week, one of the lowest scoring games this entire week, because without Andrew Luck, the Colts are subpar at best. They've still got some weapons offensively with Moncrief and T.Y., but their potency is going to be diminished extremely. I still like T.Y. to have a good game, decent game. He's by far their best guy, but I think they rely on their run game. And with the Rams are actually at plus 3.5 on the spread. I like the Rams to win this game, actually, because, again, without Luck, the Colts, well, you saw what the Colts are without Luck. In the season, they went as the worst team in all of football and had the first pick overall. So that's what the Colts are without Luck. Not too scared. Hopefully that injury for Luck doesn't keep them out for much longer, because until then, they're a very hard team to predict. But with the Rams, that offense is inept. But hopefully the Colts defense, not that good, so the Rams will be able to take advantage of the situation. I like the Rams in a little bit of an upset to win this game. Next, we have one of our most intriguing matchups this week, and heck, maybe this entire year, because we have got the Seahawks versus the Packers in Green Bay. And these two teams know each other pretty well, whether it be playoffs or regular season. They've had some very interesting contests throughout the years. For me, the Packers are going to be one of the best teams offensively in all the league with Rodgers and company. And on the flip side, the Seahawks, one of the best defensively, especially with the addition of Richardson. So I think those two parts cancel each other out, and it's going to come down to the Seattle offense versus the Green Bay defense at home. For me, that defense for the Packers is suspect. They lost a lot of pieces. And for the Seahawks, the offensive line obviously has question marks, but Wilson is mobile enough to mask some of those issues. He still got Baldwin, he still got Graham. I give the Seahawks the edge on that, even though it's away on the road. I like the Seahawks to win this game. Packers are 2.5 point favorites at home. Like I said, I don't think that'll matter. And if somehow they do win, it's going to be by a point or two for me. This is a game that gets decided on the last drive in the fourth quarter. Moving on, we have the Panthers at the 49ers. And look, this game, I think, call me crazy, but it has one of the biggest upset potentials in week one. Now, I might be saying that because I'm biased. I'm a Panthers fan, and I just always expect the worst, but that Panthers defense is not as good as people think. Obviously, that front seven is good, but the secondary still has a lot of question marks to me. I would think this is actually a high-scoring affair. I think the 49ers put up a respectable amount of points, and the same for the Panthers. I honestly think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, but even though I am a little wary of an upset, I will take the Panthers to win. I think they're the better team in football. Now, I don't think they're going to return to that Super Bowl caliber team from 2 years back, but I do think they are better than an 8-8 team, which is what the 49ers are. The Panthers have a lot of weapons offensively. It'll be interesting to see how Cam Newton is used, whether he runs as much or not. But in terms of offense, they have the edge there. It's going to come down to how Cam Newton plays and whether he can take advantage of that 49ers defense that added a lot of nice pieces in the offseason. I think when it's all said and done, he does enough. Now, in terms of the spread, the 49ers are at plus 5.5. I'll go ahead and I'll pick the Panthers. If the Panthers win, which I do think they will win by a decent amount, more than 5.5. So for that reason, I'm going with the Panthers. Moving on, we have another classic matchup with the Giants and the Cowboys, divisional foes in Jerryland, in Dallas. And look, all that drama with Ezekiel Elliott throughout the offseason kind of finally played out. We know he's going to be on the field. Even though the suspension got upheld, it'll just get pushed back until the NFLPA petition gets sorted out. So that helps the Cowboys, make no mistake about it. But at the same time, I think there was still a lot of drama and distractions with that whole situation. Offensively, the Cowboys, with that stellar O-line, they can put up points with the best of them. But the question is, what can they do defensively? And to me, not much, because that defense is suspect. They've lost a lot of pieces, whether they be suspended or injured. Now, on the flip side, the Giants have just as a potent offensive attack as the Cowboys, with Odell, with Marshall, with Eli, with some of the other pieces they've added. And defensively, they're a good team. Now, I know Eli is mistake prone, so for that reason, I do think this will be a pretty close game. It gets decided at the end of the fourth quarter, as these games usually do. But when it's all said and done, I think that Giants defense carries them to the victory. Cowboys are at minus 4.5 at home. So for those of you that are picking the Cowboys, I would say you're going by the spread, take the Giants, because I think it'll be a very close game. Now, moving on to the Monday night games, we have the Saints versus the Vikings in Minnesota. And look, the Saints obviously stacked offensively, but their defense probably could be one of the worst in all of football again. But I'm hoping they get better. It's hard to get worse than they have been in previous years. And on the flip side, the Vikings have a pretty good defense, but offensively, I'm not sold on them with Sam Bradford. He makes just as many mistakes as any other quarterback out there. So when it's all said and done, I like the Saints to win this game. Adrian Peterson, in his revenge game, he'll have something to say about it. I think that Saints offense does more than the Minnesota Vikings defense can do, and they'll take advantage of some of the mistakes that are made by Bradford. So go ahead, take the Saints. Even it's on the road. Vikings are at minus 3.5 at home. But like I said, I like the Saints to win regardless. And finally, we have the Chargers going up against the Broncos in Denver. And look, this has a very interesting matchup. Again, divisional matchup written all over it. The Broncos, though, to me, have lost some pieces on the defense. Simeon is the starting quarterback, but I do not think he is the answer. To me, I like the Chargers because the Chargers have a sneaky good defense, and they've got Phil Rivers, and Phil Rivers has so many weapons around him. It'll be a tough outing, but I expect a 17-20 kind of game where the Chargers come out on top. I think their offense is just better than Denver's, and the defense is also very good, going to make life difficult for the Broncos. So I like the Chargers. It's going to be a very close game. Broncos are favorites at home at -3.5. When it's all said and done, even if you pick the Broncos to win, I wouldn't pick them against the spread because to me, that's not a margin that I think they would cover. If they do win, it's going to be by like 3 points or something like that. So for me, I pick the Chargers, whatever the situation is. Now, with that, we come to the conclusion of week 1 games. But as I said, I will go ahead, in addition, give you guys my locks for this week in terms of teams that I feel most comfortable to win, especially in those survivor leagues that some of you guys might be in. So for me, these are the following 3 teams that I feel incredibly comfortable with. The Patriots and the Chiefs, that is my number 1 team. Then number 2, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Browns. And then finally, Falcons at the Bears. I would go ahead, pick any of those 3 teams, and I expect all the teams that I covered to win those games. But as always, let me know what you guys think. Did I hit a lot of these matchups on the head, or did I make some egregious mistakes? Comment and let me know. And as always, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in future videos.